Greetings, salutations. It's Mr. Reality, joined by psychic medium Liz Cross. Liz, thanks for having me today. How are you?
Oh, great. How are you?
I'm good. You've covered this a little bit before, but I wanted to just go back to William Shakespeare. There were some questions that weren't asked and weren't answered that I wanted to know about. And this is not, by the way, your co-host, Mr. Shakespeare. This is the original Bard of Avon, William Shakespeare, that we're going to be talking about for clarification.
Oh, great. Well, this will be fun to channel Shakespeare. I have him here.
All right. I just want to say thanks to everybody who donated to my Ko-Fi page. I've been posting a little bit more there each week with my remote viewing findings. So if you haven't checked it out, you can go to ko-fi.com, reality forecast, or click down below. Also, please go back and share one of the videos or three of the videos that Liz has. Give her a thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. William Shakespeare, how you doing today? What's he appear as to you?
He looks very much like he does in that picture. He's a bit of a drinker, by the way. He smells of alcohol. I don't know where he's been all
How can
night.
he smell of, he's not alive? How can that be? He brought the smell with him, like, and it carries over?
Yeah, I'm like, what have you been doing all night? I think he's been up all night partying or something. Oh, he's laughing. He liked to roam around in circles, and they would drink and talk about ideas. Is what I'm getting very strongly. That's why he smells of alcohol. He also smoked as well.
How can he bring that smell with him holographically as a scent?
How did you bring that? It's energy. He manifested energy into certain smells. He definitely smells like an old pub, right? Like a old wine bar pub.
Wow. I would like to smell like an old wine bar pub. That sounds great. How did he manage to write so prolifically during his lifetime?
How did you
Was it a
manage?
combination of other people helping him and
Mm, how did you manage to write so prolifically? And it would there was almost like a group of them that were
pe-
hiding behind the Shakespeare name.
people have said Marlowe, Middleton, even Francis Bacon. Did you ever work with Francis Bacon?
Did you ever work with her? Yes.
Well, that brings the 6 degrees of bacon separation to a whole new level. If you wanted to include the Shakespeare movies, Kevin Bacon, it's a game you can play. Um, how involved were you in the editing? I mean, did you just give free rein to your kind of your cadre of writers, or what was the writing process like for you?
Did you do a lot of editing? It would have to be approved. Did you I mean, don't get me wrong, he did write a lot, but once he became quite popular, a lot of people piggybacked on his name, his reputation.
Henry the Sixth, part one, two, and three, allegedly took 8 to 9 months to write each one, and there were like 40 to 60 characters involved.
Mm.
How did you keep in your head all those characters?
How did you keep in those characters? With a lot of fine wine, he says. No, how did you keep in your head all those characters? So he didn't write that by himself, okay? There were how many? Three or four writers of that. And how did you all keep up with it? Well, one person was in charge of, a number of characters. Another person was in charge of more characters. He was in charge of the main characters, but that was a group effort.
What's your reaction to people like today, or even at your time, that says that you plagiarized your works from earlier classical works?
Did you plagiarize? I mean, he's saying he didn't really plagiarize. Did you borrow themes and ideas? I mean, yes, he did borrow themes and ideas, but then he would put his own spin on it and make it into, something else.
Uh, you married Anne Hathaway, and how did your relationship with Anne? work out? What was your relationship like? You had three kids, so.
What was your relationship like with Anne Hathaway? It wasn't a good relationship. It was very difficult, very strained. He was not around very much. I feel like he had a writer's studio, is what he's telling me, or a writing room. He would lock himself away in there for hours. He would meet people down at the pub, what he's telling me, a public house of sorts, and or they would meet outside. Um, he wasn't very faithful to her, also, but he wasn't around much.
So he was working on plays with air quotes at the pub.
Right. That's so funny. Yeah, with air quotes. Yeah. He had lots of affairs. He had mistresses. I feel like he was commissioned as well to write a lot of times. There was no shortage of money with him. He would also go in disguise when he wanted to observe other people and their ways of life.
Huh.
He would disguise himself as a pauper, or he would disguise himself as, you couldn't recognize him. He would test people a lot. He would beg people on the street for things to gauge their personalities, who would be willing to help him out, who was nice, who
Huh.
was vulgar. Yeah, interesting, huh?
And so what were those interactions like with the pauper people when he was trying to act as a pauper? Did he just feel the scorn of the people that kind of hated the poverty stricken?
Did you feel the score? He did, and oftentimes he would think of his characters in his head, and then he would go to not his home, but somewhere nearby, and portray himself as one of those characters, disguise himself, portray himself as a character in order to perfect that character, to get the feel. How was that character received by almost like the audience, in a
Wow.
way? What, yeah, that's it. It's so cool, isn't it?
So when your son Hamnet died, did his passing influence any other play like King Lear or Hamlet or anything else? And what was that like for you emotionally?
When your son died, did that influence your... Well, his work became darker. It took a more darker, depressive tone. Things were getting harder, things were worse for people, the characters in his play, impossible circumstances, not necessarily happy endings. That was from the result of his son passing, is what he's telling me. He could not express... It's funny because he could not really express those emotions, the emotions that he felt. He would have to express those emotions through his writing and through the characters.
And he felt that he wasn't able to emote around the people that he was with, or just he couldn't feel emotions? Like, what was the process like for him? Was he angry that he couldn't feel the emotions, or
Mm.
could he not? He just couldn't express them, or he didn't have them?
Did you have emotions? He kept his emotions buried. He kept them hidden, and the only time they were really allowed to come out was, maybe if he was with one of his mistresses, or in his writing. He would let his guard down with his mistresses. Why would you do that? Why would you let your guard down? Because he felt like he didn't have to portray himself to be the Shakespeare. He could be another person entirely.
Huh. Did they know he was Shakespeare, or was he? I guess
Ooh,
he well known. Could you recognize him at the time?
did they know that you were? No, they did not know. That was a very good question. They did not know that he was Shakespeare. He would use names of the characters in the plays. Wow.
Is he alive now?
Are you alive now? No, he just finished up a incarnation.
Okay. And is he what how many incarnations had he had since Shakespeare?
How many incarnations have he had? Three. And the last one was very boring. He's never doing that ever again.
What was the Shakespeare Life Review like, and how long did that go on?
What was the Shakespeare life review like? It was very tragic. There was a lot of tragedy in his life as Shakespeare. He lost friends, he lost lovers, he treated his wife terribly, he wasn't really there for his children. He financially controlled them as well, is what he's saying. That was a huge lesson. He really Why did you financially control them? Because he never wanted them to leave, and that was a way to ensure that they wouldn't leave through financial control. But I'm saying most people didn't get divorced back then. He's saying, yes, that's true, but I feel like his wife did have options. She could have gone to some family members, they would have taken care of her, is what he's saying. So but he financially controlled her. He was not nice to her at all.
What was his upbringing like?
It was very similar to the way his father, so the way he behaved is very similar to the way he was treated by his father.
How did the death of his father in 1601, I think, affect him?
The death of your father. It really didn't affect him because they weren't close.
What's he think about his legacy now?
What do you think about your legacy now? He's very surprised. He's surprised that it has lasted so long. He's surprised that people still think he's, some magnificent playwright, is what he's saying, that they still engage with his work. They make it fit the current narrative and the current trends.
What about your relationship with Anne? You've said it was struggled and she was older than you and you were kind of distant. Was it an arranged marriage or was it like any love there initially?
What was it? I mean, initially there was love. Yes, initially, but it was very fleeting.
She was pregnant at the time you were married. Was that, I can't remember if that was your child or someone else's.
Was the pregnancy at the time you were married was a I don't feel that that was his child. No, I'm getting a no on that.
Why is it that in your will you left Anne Hathaway your second best bed? Was that like a wry, sarcastic remark at her, or what was the?
Ooh, the second best bed?
Yeah, he said that in his will, I think.
Why did you say that in your will? The second best bed? Mhm. Because she knew that he was always sleeping around.
Oh,
Yeah, he wasn't nice.
if you could live him, did he ever act in the plays? And did he ever like play more than one character in plays? I guess when he was making them, or was his favorite
No.
play that he was in?
Did you ever act in any of your plays? Yes, he did. He did act in, and he says Hamlet was his favorite. He did act. Why is Hamlet your favorite? Just the absurdity of the whole Hamlet thing. It was so absurd, it was true.
Was he in any secret societies at the time?
Were you in any secret societies at the time? No, just the underground writing group that he was part of, that, they would all get together and share ideas and submit parts and pieces and put things together.
Somebody wanted to know what happened during the last years between Stratford and your debut in London. Who were you with and what were you doing in those years?
Who were you with and what were you doing? He was with a lot of women and he was drinking, and he was also networking, mingling with wealthy aristocracy. He would do private plays and write private pieces for aristocracy. In fact, there are the lost works of Shakespeare. They're not really lost, they're locked in some vaults of aristocrats that he specifically wrote for them. They've never been released. The families are scared to release them because of the fact they could be stolen. They're worth so much money. They try to keep it very private.
Did he use nom de plumes a lot then to try and obscure his identity?
Did you try to obscure? I mean, he did try to obscure his identity. He says being recognized and being known was a blessing, but it was also a curse. You were always on stage, you were always expected to be theatrical, to be entertaining, to have the next best idea, and it was exhausting.
Did he have other famous lives where he was in the public spotlight?
Did you have any other famous lives? Two since Shakespeare, yes. Um, so what two lives? So he was a female singer in the 1800s, and was that in the UK? No, I feel he was a famous French opera singer. He's telling me, in the 1800s, very, very well known. Died of alcohol, too much alcohol. He does drink in his lifetimes. And then he was also, so what about this last lifetime? No, that he was nothing in his last lifetime. So the opera singer, and then who were you? A very, very short-lived career was that acting. It was acting and singing. And when was this? This was around the 1920s, kind of early Hollywood. Didn't last long. Again, that was due to alcohol overdose.
What was your real opinion of Thomas Quinney before he married Judith, his daughter?
What was your real opinion of? Oh, he didn't like Thomas Quinney. No.
Did he know
Snake.
that Quinney had another woman, another child out of wedlock?
Oh, scandal. Did you know? No, not until he crossed over, but it didn't surprise him. He was a snake. He was a user and abuser. He said he treated his daughter very badly. And there was nothing he could do about it because the daughter was very naive and just would not see. Did you try to talk? He tried to talk her out of this relationship, but because he was pretty much an absent father, she wasn't going to listen.
Yeah, it says here Margaret Wheeler died in childbirth along with her illegitimate child she'd conceived with Thomas Quinney. Both were buried on March 15th,
Mm,
1616, just weeks after his marriage to Judith. Did he
mm.
have a hand in that, or is he just, it just happened that she passed away?
Did you have a hand in that? No, no, that was just she passed away.
Why didn't Judith marry earlier? Because she married late in life, and they married, I think, during Lent, which was not something you could commonly do. So, does he know why Anne didn't allow her daughter to marry until later on in life?
Why didn't your daughter marry until later on in life. She didn't really need to marry. She wasn't financially dependent upon others. Like he did provide for them. He may not have given them excess money to just spend freely, but certainly back then, he's saying to me, a lot of women married out of financial necessity. They had to. She didn't have to do that. There was food on the table, she had clothes, she had a roof over her head.
And so it was just kind of, oh, I guess I got to marry. Were Anne and William Shakespeare soulmates?
Hmm. Were you and Selma? Yes, they're together in every lifetime. Yes.
Uh, what did he feel? How long did the planning for the Shakespeare lifetime take?
Ooh, how long did it take you if you're speaking in human terms? 200 years.
And what was the lifetime preceding Shakespeare? I guess that ended around 13 something.
What was the lifetime? So there was a lifetime where he was a little boy, and he ended up getting like the plague or some sort of flu pneumonia. How old? He was about 10 or 11 when he passed away. He was very poor. He was like a street urchin, is what he said to me. And he would have to steal food, and he had nowhere to go.
And so, how does someone like that decide my next life's going to be great to the moon?
How does someone decide that? Because you want to experience extremes, you want to experience opposites. To get the full human experience, you want to go, one side and then the other.
Who tells you that?
Who tells you? No one. He figured that out a long time ago.
How many lifetimes has William Shakespeare had as a human?
Oh, how many lifetimes have you had as him? About 300.
And what level on the ascension staircase is he sitting at?
What level are you sitting at? Three going into four.
How many lifetimes per staircase? Or does that vary?
Times per staircase. 1 to 150. That was a good question.
Was he murdered?
No.
I found it curious that he summoned Thomas Quinney and left him out of his will. And after he wrote his second will, saying Thomas Quinney wasn't in it, he died very quickly afterwards. Did he know he was dying? Was he ill at the time?
Did she know you? Yes, he knew he was dying. Yes, he did.
What was the reason for his death?
What was the reason for you? Liver. His whole body was giving out. Um, were you an alcohol? I feel like a lot of it had to do with alcoholism.
Seems like a common. He
Um,
brought some with him now, so
yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, it still smells like a wine bar. Um, he does. He thinks it's funny. You know, and what the other thing that's coming through is yes, he smells like a wine bar, but he also smells like he hasn't had a bath in like 3 or 4 days, right? And I'm saying,
how is that?
I know. And I'm saying, is that how you lived? And obviously back then they didn't take baths like we do now every day. But there would be periods of time where he did not sleep. He was almost like manic when he got into the flow of writing. He was unstoppable. He would disappear for days.
What was he doing then?
He would write, or he did the thing where he was pretending to be one of the characters to see how he was being received. He would hide himself away or even lock himself in his writing room for days. You couldn't, he barely ate anything. He would drink alcohol, but he would just be writing furiously, and you know, everything else, all personal hygiene went out the window until he was finished. Did you ever hit a writer's block? He did hit writer's block a few times, yes.
Did any royal decree ever come down and say you can't talk about such and such, or did he feel like he didn't have that?
Did you any royal decree come down and say you can't talk? I mean, they would kind of warn him, but they also found it highly entertaining that somebody was writing about them and making fun of them. I mean, it was comedy.
Did he ever speak to Queen Elizabeth?
Did you ever speak to Queen Elizabeth? Not if he could help it. No, he would avoid those people.
Does he have some sort of derision or looking down upon them? What is his true feelings of the royal family and royal court?
You don't get to know them very well. You don't want them to know you well. Why? Because then they could pass judgment. They part of the fascination with Shakespeare was that he was so mysterious, and he liked that about himself. He wasn't an open book. You never knew what he was thinking, how he was feeling, what his next work of art was going to be. He was very eccentric in his uh the way he spoke. He was very eccentric. Like he would just speak a very serious line about something, a sentence, and then he would break out into this mad laughter. And nobody knew. And he did that on purpose. It was very theatrical to
Did he have any
confuse
religious
people.
leanings,
Did
Catholic or
you have
Protestant or anything else?
did you have any religious leanings? Yes, he toyed with both. I he were you pro I feel he was more Protestant.
Did he order all of his belongings to be burned when he died, or did that just happen happenstancely?
Ooh, I don't know anything about this stuff. I have to admit, I'm sorry, Mr. Shakespeare. I'm not a Shakespeare fan. I find it very difficult. I know a lot of
It's hard to
people.
read. It's
Yeah.
actually a brain trick to have to read it and understand it and process it. It's mathematically kind of like that. So reading Shakespeare still in this day and age is, I think, a good exercise in enlightenment and mathematics, kind of rewiring your brain to unthink the way you're normally reading.
Well, my brain cannot rewire around Shakespeare because I find it insanely difficult. Did you would your stuff, did you order for it to be burned? No, I feel that the family ordered it to be burned because it was good riddance to Shakespeare.
So it was at Anne's direction that it was done, or someone else close to her?
At Anne's direction. Yes, because they actually hated one another.
What was his favorite lifetime as a human?
What was your favorite lifetime? Shakespeare.
What about as an animal?
What is your favorite lifetime as an animal? What? A kangaroo.
Our Australian friends will be happy about that one.
Yes.
It's dangerous being a roo out there now, all those semis on the road. Um, what does he feel that people should take away from his works?
That the human existence in its entirety is what he's saying is completely absurd. It's a joke. It's like one big comedy play. You're laughing, you're crying, you don't know what's going to happen next. You go through tough times, you go through good times. You think people are one way and they turn out to be a completely different way. He said it's all just one big comedy.
What's he think
And you
about
have to be more lighthearted about life. You have to see it that way. That this is the God's way of playing a joke.
Yeah, so let's talk about that joke. What's he think about the politics of the afterlife?
Ooh, what do you think about the politics of the afterlife? He thinks it sucks, is what he just said. It's not, those were his exact words. It's like unfair, and but we all play a role. We all play an actor or actor. We pick our parts. It's as if we're creating these plays from the spirit world. Oh, this looks like an interesting character. I want her to be like this, and I want her to have this many lovers and failed marriages, and I want her to have, stillbirths, and I want her to maybe not have any children and have difficulties. And is she going to be rich? Is she going to, it's like developing a character in a play.
If he could write a jab at the cosmic oligarchy that we're all under, that we don't know about, that we've forgotten about, who would the archetypes be in this play? What would their
Hmm.
roles be up there on that side?
Well, he's saying it would be like a modern day Robin Hood, is what he showed me. And I'm saying, why? And he said, because you need to steal from the rich and give to the poor, as in, we need to be empowered. Those of us who are experiencing the human, we need to be more empowered, you know, because this is just so ridiculous.
But I'm more curious about who is on the other side that he would take jabs at. Since it was the royal court down here, who are the mechanisms above on the other side that he would poke fun at in writing this cosmic tragedy of errors?
Who would you No, he's very obedient. He when he left the lifetime of Shakespeare, the character of Shakespeare is very different from the soul, right? Even though he's talking to
Hmm.
us as Shakespeare, his soul is actually extremely serious. So when you strip all that down and you're just looking at the soul of who was once William Shakespeare, it's very much trying to figure things out in order to get off the reincarnation cycle. So he's very obedient as a soul. He doesn't want to upset people, or, sorry, other hierarchy over on the other side. He's very respectful of that.
So is
It's
that
when
sustained? Go ahead.
Mhm. Oh, sorry, when he creates these characters that he comes down and he plays for, X amount of years, that's when you can bring the comedy into it. But actually, he's very serious. He's a very serious soul.
Is that from fear?
Is that from fear? Partially, yes. He fears that he will never make it through to the other side, as in, he won't ascend to the point or reach that point of ascension, is what he's saying, to where he doesn't have to reincarnate. It just seems so far away. It seems impossible. It's very difficult to figure out what the cheat code is what he's saying. Where's the cheat code? What is it that makes it work, that pushes us through the ascension process much faster?
Are there custodians up there? What are the levels like of control that exist in this cosmic autocracy?
What are the levels like? There's guardians that make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. So let me ask this question, because this was kind of coming through. So what happens if you're just knocking about up there and you're not working on a life plan, when you're just sort of not motivated to do so? Oh no, they start really being quite forceful and pushy about the life plan. um they make you start to construct, and then you have these guardians that, what do? They give you goals and deadlines, and they're like the enforcers. And you have to show that you've been working towards something, you've been exploring something. Now, they don't punish you, but they do report back to the hierarchy. And so if you're having difficulty, like you have a lot of fear and you don't want to make those life plans, they will actually hold your hand and give you some general ideas. But ultimately, and you have to construct something and you have to hand something in, a life plan, and you may not want to do the life plan that has been constructed, but if you're very resistant, you don't have a choice. You must reincarnate.
Must you?
Yes.
What if you don't?
Incinerator.
Sounds harsh.
Well, do they make you come down? Like, will they create a life plan for? Yes, I mean they will create a life plan for you, and they will force you down the tunnel.
Here's the
I
cut and
mean,
paste version. Go.
yeah, right, right. You
And Chat
know,
GPT, make me a life plan idea.
let's ask, do you have like Chat GPT up there? No, but that's a good idea. He complimented you on that.
Has he spoken with anybody else about cheat codes? Maybe talk to, well, we'll ask him and I'll give him some cheat code characters.
Hmm. Do you talk to any? Yeah, there's like an underground movement looking for cheat codes up there.
Oh, who's in it? We'll talk to them next. Don't tell us who's in the resistance, but tell us who's in the resistance. We won't tell.
What do you think about that?
He can't tell us. It's
What,
down
the
too
cheat
deep.
codes?
Yeah, well, who is in this underground list? Don't, I mean, tell us who's in the resistance without telling us who's in the resistance, I'm saying.
Well, it's mainly the same souls that were writing with him, the underground
Oh,
soul movement or the writers movement when he was Shakespeare. They're sort of breakaway. They don't like us talking about it really because they don't want the people up there to know, or
okay, we
the
won't tell anybody.
hierarchy to know. But there's all kinds of breakaways, fragment groups, splinter groups that are trying to find their way out of the system or the cheat code, or trying to mathematically solve, problems, to bypass reincarnation. So there are a lot of little splinter breakaway groups. Do you
How
ever
does,
organize a coup? I mean, yeah, there are souls that have tried to organize a coup.
how'd
And
that
what
work out for them?
happened? Hmm?
Probably not good.
No, what happened to them? They were given like a smackdown, and their life plans were designed for them, and they had to go live some very horrible lives.
That sounds pretty oppressive up there. Did they get news? Do they follow the happenings of what's going on in present day London or
Hmm. Do you follow the happenings? I mean, he follows it from a literary perspective, like the trends, music perspectives, because that's what he wants to do. He likes he likes theater, he likes being a somebody.
has he
So
seen
he
Wicked yet?
does. Hmm.
Has he seen Wicked yet?
Have you seen? Oh, he loves Wicked. He loves, loves, loves. Wow, that was a good question.
Is he aware of what's happening politically in London and what are his opinions about it?
Are you aware? He is aware, but he's not so much concerned. He's not going back to the UK for his next lifetime. He'll be
No.
here in the States.
How long is that going to take to make the next one here in the States?
How long is that? Another 200 years.
Yeah, drag your feet as long as you can. Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you, William Shakespeare. And thanks to each
It's
and everyone out
okay.
there. We appreciate you and we want to wish you a wonderful summertime. Hope you have a great day. Work on your plans now, I guess, right?
Oh,
Better
well, yeah.
yourself every day.
Yeah. Those of us in the CTT group, we're already setting up our next lifetime. We know what we want, we know what we don't want, and we send that information to our souls. So we're not making such calamitous lifetimes full of trauma and tragedy and drama, a bit like one of his plays, really.
Speaking of tragedy, I think his tomb was broken into and his skull was stolen. Does he care that his skull was stolen now as Shakespeare, or does he just like, ah, it's a body?
Do you care? He doesn't care, but it definitely did happen, and they have it in their house on display.
Creepy, man.
They paid someone a lot of money for that.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll see you
Wow,
next
thank
time.
you, Mr. Reality. And don't forget, Mr. Reality put this together for us. Thank you. And does have a tip jar listed below.
See you later.